It's Bigfoot right now, back on the radar at a Tampa Bay park.
Seriously, look how big it is. I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
When the first white explorers and Native Americans arrived in Yellowstone, the entire region was a completely unexpected mystery, the likes of which had never been seen before. Water erupting from the ground, boiling mud pits, stinking hot springs, terraces made of minerals. People in St. Louis did not accept the accounts that John Colter brought back with him after he left the Lewis and Clark expedition to explore this region on his own for a year. They humorously dubbed his description Colter's Hell. Of course, Yellowstone's geologic wonders, the national park contains more than 10,000 thermal features, or 3/4 of the total in the globe, are well recognized today, and more than 4 million people visit the park each year to marvel at them. But the park is still full of surprises and natural wonders, and recently, a park ranger stated that there is something strange going on inside Yellowstone National Park. Stay with us until the end to know more about the surprising revelation made by a Yellowstone official. Yellowstone is one of the most visited national parks in the United States, trailing only the Great Smoky Mountains. When you think of Yellowstone National Park, you might think of the amazing landscape, the famed geyser that erupts several times each day, or the massive supervolcano that lies beneath the park. One thing that may not come to mind is mysterious humanoids. Yet visitors to the national park have come forward with their sightings and encounters, claiming that they encountered a creature that resembled a human, was coated in fur, and stood between 7 and 9 feet tall. This monster strongly resembles a Bigfoot, and many people across the United States have stated that it is absolutely genuine, but that it prefers to stay out of the path of humans. One of the issues with these type of stories is being able to back them up with evidence, which most people cannot do because the bulk of these encounters are rushed, leaving the folks wondering what they just witnessed. In the 20th century, it was the responsibility of chief rangers to respond to letters that were sent from all over the world. The bulk of letters contained basic inquiries such as, when will Old Faithful geyser erupt? How many bears are there in the park? And where can I camp? However, queries can range from the mundane to the bizarre, as was the case in October 1980. Superintendent Thomas O. Hobbs received 2 letters that month inquiring about the appearance of the mysterious Bigfoot. The letters were only a week apart and were possibly motivated by a supposed Bigfoot sighting earlier that year in nearby Jackson, Wyoming. Hobbs's responses show that this was not the type of issue that could be immediately answered by digging through records. We are unable to find any references to sightings of Bigfoot in Yellowstone's historical natural history records. With no reported sightings, there really is nothing further to pursue at this time. Finding these few correspondences in a sea of letters about plants and recreational activities sparked some curiosity, not only about Bigfoot's reported presence here, but also about other phenomenon that may have been reported. It was discovered that Yellowstone has a long history of odd occurrences, including claims of lake music as early as the 1880s. Lake music is described as a buzzing sound that moves around Yellowstone Lake. In his 1895 book Yellowstone National Park, Hiram Chittenden, an early engineer in the park, mentions an overhead sound. A most singular and interesting acoustic phenomenon of this region, although rarely noticed by tourists, is the occurrence of strange and indefinable overhead sounds, writes Chittenden. Explorers have long recognized them, but only in the region of Shoshone and Yellowstone lakes. Those who visit the park and camp in the lake region can still hear lake music. Despite the fact that a large number of complaints have resulted in scientific investigations, no one has been able to determine what generates the buzzing sounds. 33 years after the letters inquiring about Sasquatch sightings, the archives cannot claim to have official documentation of Bigfoot encounters or records explaining lake music. The Yellowstone archives do have letters to and responses from the chief rangers to curious people all over the world, with inquiries ranging from the mundane to the unusual, all of which are waiting to be discovered. However, one park ranger was recently able to collect evidence of a supposed Bigfoot inside Yellowstone National Park. Mr. Oliver commented on the incident as follows: "I'm a big fan of Yellowstone National Park live cameras. I've been fortunate enough to visit these beautiful locales numerous times throughout my life, and it's always been one of those places where I feel the most at ease. It's one of the most magnificent and lovely national parks we have, but due to my age and a few other issues, I can't visit as often as I'd want. In reality, I haven't visited here in quite some time. I frequently monitor the live cameras set up around the park, however I've never seen anything like this before. While viewing the camera, I observed a huge figure off in the distance. Keep in mind that this photograph has been heavily zoomed in, and there was no one else in the area. The fact that this thing is torn is the major reason I noticed it. In other places of the national park, I could see people out in the distance as they appeared tiny, but this thing stood out because of how tall it appeared against the trees. Although there have been tales of Bigfoot in and around Yellowstone National Park, I've always remained rather impartial on the subject. My close friend has told me stories about camping in Yellowstone National Park and encountering something he couldn't describe. He is adamant that the creature he encountered while camping was a Bigfoot, not a bison. I'd want to hear your thoughts on this, so I've posted the photograph below once more. I'm not saying this is a Bigfoot, but I don't see how it could be a person. It stood out a lot, and as I mentioned, this monster is quite tall in comparison to the surrounding trees. I'd like to think that I can tell the difference between a normal human and whatever this is. This is one of the few occasions a Bigfoot has been captured on camera at Yellowstone National Park. As previously mentioned, while there are numerous accounts circulating regarding people's encounters with this creature, very few have been able to capture what they saw. Bigfoot researchers claim that people visiting the park have been seeing giant hairy creatures for years, with the majority of these encounters taking place at night when campers are sleeping. When skeptics see these type of photographs, however, they remark that it is vital to have an open mind and that there is a lot of wildlife within Yellowstone National Park. They have also said that individuals could just be misidentifying everyday animals as Bigfoot. Although this is true, and it is essential to perform as much inquiry as possible when investigating these occurrences, there are only a limited number of explanations that can be offered. Eyewitnesses who claim to have seen Bigfoot in Yellowstone believe the creature cannot be confused with local wildlife, going on to claim that there is no humanoid species in this region, and certainly none capable of reaching such heights. The Sasquatch creature appears to stand between 8 and 10 feet tall. It is thought to have a total arm length of 120% of its body height, comparable to that of an ape-like creature with lengthened forearms. However, unlike an ape, the species is thought to be bipedal, because the head would need to be in a position that enables for bipedal mobility. The creature's bipedal nature most likely points to the notion of a working voice box. Further evidence suggests that the Sasquatch possesses a large big toe to aid in balancing, as it is nearly 3 times the volume of its size when adjusted for human scale. The Sasquatch appears to be covered in hair all over its body. However, this is not the only instance in which Bigfoot has been captured on camera. Some Sasquatch aficionados claim that footage captured in Yellowstone National Park in 2015 reveals not 1, but 4 of the mythical monsters. The video shows bison wandering through a snow-covered park before 4 creatures walking upright appear in the backdrop. As the video begins, a caption reads, "News they don't want you to hear." The footage, which was shot near the tourist attraction's Old Faithful geyser, cuts out before the camera can get a good glimpse at the creatures. Enthusiasts have long hoped to unearth proof of the existence of a monster largely assumed to be fictitious. Most such sightings, according to scientists, are cases of misidentification of other species or hoaxes. According to Al Nash, a spokesperson at Yellowstone National Park, Bigfoot sightings are not frequent, but it happens. People say a lot of crazy things about Yellowstone all the time, and Bigfoot are just some of them. In spite of the fact that it has a contentious history, the beast continues to be a widely used cultural symbol throughout North America. Sightings of this beast have been reported for millennia, dating back to the time of the Aborigines and ancient legendary folklore. What makes these claims even more astounding is that individuals are still encountering these animals all over the world, with stories of them coming from Tibet, America, and even Australia. Despite this, people are divided regarding what these creatures are and whether or not these encounters are credible. Do you believe these monsters exist? And are the stories about them true? Tell us in the comments section.